Hi, this is Donald Abrams, integrative oncologist here at the UCSF Osher Center for Integrative Health. And it's my pleasure to introduce Rebecca Greiner, our physician's assistant with a PhD in nutrition, who today in her kitchen is cooking up 2 forms of tofu. Soy, I think, is a major food group that is often misunderstood. Many people are fearful of soy because it has that potential to modify estrogen, as Rebecca will explain. However, Asians living in Asia, eating an Asian diet, which is strong in soy, have decreased risk of both prostate and breast cancer. And studies have demonstrated that in women with hormone receptor positive breast cancer, consumption of a portion of a whole soy food a day decreases the risk of recurrence. So a whole soy food is organic, non-GMO soybean or edamame, soy milk, tofu, tempeh, or miso, and not soy cheese, soy turkey, or soy hot dogs, which are just heavily processed foods and not good for us at all. So please watch Rebecca prepare 2 forms of tofu. As you know, if you've seen me, one of my favorite breakfasts or lunch is broccoli, tofu, and rice with an avocado oil-based mayonnaise, but I may actually consider using that ranch dressing that Rebecca is preparing for us today. So bon appetit.
Hello and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be talking about soy foods. We're going to be talking about the benefits of soy, how you can use them in your cooking, and 2 very simple recipes that you can make using soy products. So let's get started. So first of all, what is soy? Soy is technically called soybean, or you might have also heard the word edamame. It's a green bean in a pod, and you can often buy the whole soybean in the pod in the frozen section of the refrigerator. And that is a great product. You can heat those up and pop them out of the pod and just eat them whole, and it's a great snack. Sometimes they serve them with various, seasonings on top of them. So that's whole soy. There's also minimally processed soy foods, and we're going to use one of those minimally processed soy foods today, and that is tofu. So tofu is made a little bit like cheese. They put substances in the soybean to sort of curdle it, and then they make a curd looking product out of it. And we consider it minimally processed, so still very healthy. And we'll go over some of those health benefits in just a moment. There is also highly processed forms of soy. And these are the types of soy that we want to limit in our diet. So what happens with highly processed types of soy foods is that they take the tofu or the soybean and they use different chemicals and different techniques to extract out proteins, different components of the soy, and then use those isolates or those concentrates in, say, for instance, imitation meats or protein bars or other highly processed products. So if you are on the lookout for highly processed soy foods, you will see in the ingredient list words such as soy protein isolate or soy protein concentrate. And those indicate that the soy has been highly processed, and those are extracts from the whole soybean. And those we want to limit because we're not sure how those interact with our bodies. However, minimally processed soy, such as soy milk, tofu, tempeh, miso, soy sauce, those foods are fine. And if you choose to eat soy, and I'll talk about all the different reasons that you might choose to eat soy, you want to go for about 2 servings a day, which is about 1/5 of a tofu block or a cup of soy milk, those sorts of things. So what are some of the benefits of soy? Well, soy has a lot of fiber, in it. Fiber does a couple of things in the body. It can help bulk up the stool, so it can help digestion and help reduce constipation and other GI symptoms. The fiber in the soybean or the whole soy foods, for example, tofu, can also feed the microbiome. Very important fibrous materials that we don't digest, but that the microbiome can digest. So one of the benefits of soybean products, whole soy, minimally processed soy, is the fiber. Another really important nutritious component of soy products is protein. You may have heard that certain foods are complete proteins, such as the protein from animal products, chicken, fish, eggs, those sorts of things. If you are vegetarian or vegan, you may not eat those products, and often they eat soybean products. And it's one of the few plant foods, there are a few others, that contain all the essential amino acids that we need, and so we can consider it a complete source of protein, just like an animal source of protein. So that's one very important benefit of eating soybeans and minimally processed soy products. Another healthy reason to eat soybean products are they contain healthy fats. So these fats are unsaturated, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, and those sorts of fats are very satiating. They help us feel satisfied when we eat. They also help with reduced cholesterol and blood sugar, so very healthy. Soybean also contains lots of other nutrients such as vitamins and minerals, and they contain a class of nutrients called isoflavones. So we'll talk about the isoflavones in a minute, but as far as minerals go, tofu contains quite a bit. Tofu and other soybean products contain quite a bit of calcium, magnesium, zinc, copper, iron, so lots of different nutrients that the body needs for a variety of processes like immune function, healthy bones, etc. The antioxidant properties of soybean products are those nutrients that quench free radicals. So we all have an underlying low-grade inflammation in the body just from living, just from moving around, just from eating food. You know, we're exposed to various toxins that we're not aware of. And antioxidants that are present in soybean foods, as well as other vegetables and fruits, help to quench these free radicals and keep the body healthy and keep the free radicals from doing damage. So now let's talk about the isoflavones. And this is where there has been some controversy about soy-based foods in the past with regards to cancer, specifically breast cancer and prostate cancer. So isoflavones are nutrients that look structurally similar to estrogens. And so you may know that some breast cancers seem to be driven by estrogen. So there is concern about whether the isoflavones in soybean products might act like an estrogen. Well, as it turns out, the tofu and other soybean products do have these isoflavones, but they seem to protect against breast cancer and other cancers. So how could this be? So throughout the research that has been done, they have shown that estrogen itself binds to the estrogen receptor alpha. And the isoflavones, or the estrogen-like compounds in soybean foods, they latch on to estrogen receptor beta in the body. And so with these two different types of receptors, there's two different types of responses. So the alpha receptors tend to be more promoting the growth of cells or breast cancer cells, whereas the beta receptors tend to protect against cancer. And so that seems to be the reason why soybean foods, even though they contain a nutrient that looks like estrogen, do not act like estrogen in the body. And so they're safe to eat if you have cancer, trying to reduce your risk of cancer, particularly breast or prostate cancer. So let's talk a little bit about tofu, which is what we're going to use today. So tofu comes in a variety of forms. One I have here is firm tofu, and that's what I'm going to use first. Try to get organic if you can, because there won't be any extra chemicals or pesticides or anything used in organic. So this is a firm tofu, and this is what it looks like when it comes right out of the package. You can see that it is firm, but there is still some water in this, and it's pretty squishable, that's what I would say. And so for some preparations, you have to press that. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And so after you press it, this is some firm tofu that I've pressed. And you can sort of see here that the one here has more water than this one. And this one's a little more firm, less water, and you can use it for different preparations as well. There's another type of tofu called silken tofu. It's very, very fragile, I guess you could say. It's much more, it's got a lot more water in it. And see, I can kind of bend it, and we're gonna also use that today in a different preparation. But the way you buy tofu is typically in a container like one of these, and I just wanted to show you, I left this one here so you could see. It's usually a block of tofu, and it's kept in this liquid. And that's a great way to store it. You can also drain it if you're going to keep it for a couple of days and just use a little bit of a time. I would drain this and add some fresh water, and you could keep it for a few days. Otherwise, you can cook the whole block at once. You can also freeze tofu, which helps pull out some of the water also. So let me wash my hands just one moment. So our first recipe is baked tofu. It's a very simple recipe. It provides you with a product that you could use that's really just tasty on its own. It's very adaptable to any spices or herbs that you might like. You can also use it on a salad. You can use it in a grain bowl. You could use it with pasta. You could use it for breakfast. It's a very adaptable, healthy, delicious, easy recipe that we're gonna do. And that's sort of what I try to do with Culinary Medicine, which is combining the art of cooking with the science of medicine. And when the art of cooking is really just all about preferences and about having fun and, trying new things. So let's talk a little bit about pressing the tofu first. So in order to press tofu, you can really just use things that you have lying around the house. This is not something that you have to buy a tofu press for. They do have these, so by all means, if that interests you, feel free, but you can really just do this at home. So what I'm gonna start off with is a cutting board, and that's just providing me with a flat surface. And then I'm gonna put a towel, a clean placemat, something here that can absorb a little bit of the water from the tofu. And then as sort of a barrier, I'm gonna put down some paper towels next. And then I'm going to put my tofu here. So you can see it's quite watery, and this is even the firm. So even some water came out here. So I'm gonna put all that out. You could do this in planks, you can do it in cubes, however you would like to do it. Another layer of paper towels. And we're gonna do another placemat or kitchen towel or whatever you would like here. And then I am going to grab a pan. So I have this is a carbon steel pan that I'm just gonna put here for some weight. And I'm also, just to add a little bit more weight and to help things go faster, I'm gonna fill up just a pan of water to give it some weight. And then this is going to push down on the tofu. It takes anywhere, 30 minutes, an hour, however dry you want it. You can check it and see how it goes. The more weight you have, the faster it's gonna go. And so then I would just set this off to the side and let it press. Again, 30 minutes to an hour. So I'm gonna move this over here out of our way. and again show you what that looks like. So again, this is the tofu that's been pressed. And the reason I want to press it is because this is baked tofu and I want to get the water out of it. And the reason I want to get the water out of the tofu is so it will crispen up just a little bit. And so this is probably a third to 2/3 of a block of tofu. And so really, again, super simple recipe. If this were an entire block of tofu, I would use a tablespoon of soy sauce, but since it's less than a block, I'm gonna use a little bit less than a tablespoon. So just pour a tablespoon soy sauce in here, mix this around. This gives it flavoring. So if you have, you know, if you're trying to cut back on salt, you may use less of this. You may not use this at all. You may use different spices. You know, again, this is adaptable. Have fun with it. Then you want to add some oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. If it were a whole block of tofu, I would use a whole tablespoon of oil. This is not, so I'm just adding a little bit less. And again, you're just going to toss this around. And then finally, we're going to add some cornstarch. And this is to help crispen the tofu. But again, if you're interested in not having this for whatever reason, if you're trying to avoid simple carbohydrates, you don't have to add this in. But I usually add this in, and I'll show you why in a moment. And then you just toss this around. And basically you want to toss until the cornstarch has been absorbed by the oil and the soy sauce. So you can see that it's almost been absorbed. And do not worry if the tofu breaks up, then you'll just have little crispy bits that are really delicious. Okay, so let me just wash my hands real quick. So then what you do with this is you spread it out on a pan. I do a pan, I'll show you in a minute, with some parchment paper. Spread it out so they're not touching each other. The oven will be preheated to 400 degrees, and you start checking after about 15 minutes. You can toss, you know, at 10 minutes and kind of see how it's doing, but start checking at 15. It should be ready by 20 at the latest. And then you can kind of see and gauge how much crispiness you want in your tofu. So again, this will go into an oven. So I did some earlier, and this is how it looks when it comes out. So again, I did this 400 degrees for about, it was really only about 15 minutes. And you can see the crispy bits that comes from the little bit of oil and a little bit of cornstarch. But even if you don't do that, you can still get some flavor, and you can adjust this recipe if you have any reason to avoid the cornstarch or the soy sauce. And again, you can just pop these in your mouth for a snack. I ate a few a while ago when they came out. They're really good hot. Put them on a salad, eat them for breakfast. Really very versatile dish. You could use them in tacos, you know, you could put them in a lasagna, and just a way to, you know, maybe substitute for meat once or twice a week. It's very good. Okay, so we finished the baked tofu. Now we're going to make a ranch dressing. And with this, again, we are going to use this silken tofu. So it's a lot more water. It's going to incorporate into a liquid consistency and be really creamy. No dairy in this recipe. It's vegan, so a good option if you're trying to cut down on dairy. Really, it can be used for anything. So we're going to start off. So I've got the silken tofu in this small food processor. So to that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of water. I think that's just 1 tablespoon. Let me grab another tablespoon of water. And then the next ingredient, you can either add 2 tablespoons of oil, or 2 tablespoons more of water, or a tablespoon of oil, a tablespoon of water. So I think I'm gonna actually split the difference. And so I'm gonna add a tablespoon of oil to the food processor and another tablespoon of water. And this is just to provide some richness That olive oil has wonderful monounsaturated fatty acids in it that again help with cholesterol and blood sugar. It's going to help thin the dressing a little bit and give it a rich flavor. We're going to add 2 garlic cloves, which I have here, into the mix. We're also going to add, you can either add onion powder or you can add a little bit of white onion or green onion. I have green onion, so I'm going to add that here. Okay. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. So again, if you're cutting down on salt, this is a half teaspoon of kosher, so I'm going to add 2 of these. You can adjust as you need or use another product, use different spices. 2 tablespoons apple cider vinegar. And again, you can play around with this and see what you like best. I'm going to add some nutritional yeast. And this is a great product. Let me just wash this really quick. Nutritional yeast is vegetarian, but it can add some it's got a really good source of vitamin B12, which is sometimes hard for vegetarians to get. So I'm going to add nutritional yeast. It can also provide like a Parmesan cheese type flavor, and just give it an umami kind of quality. So I'm going to add that into our mix. I'm going to add a half a cup of herbs, and this can be whatever you like. I've got some chives here that I'm going to add. I've got some oregano, I've got some basil. I'm also going to put in some parsley and just kind of stuff that in. I'm going to get some of this parsley. Anytime you can add herbs or spices to your food, the more often, the better. They contain lots of nutrients that are hard to sometimes get, but they provide a lot of flavor too. It's a little piece of thyme, the leaves off of there. Do a little bit more parsley. You could do cilantro in here. You could do dill. That would be great. Okay, so we've got everything in there. So we're going to put the top on this. And I'm going to take it over so I can plug it in and blend it, and we'll show you the finished dressing. So I just finished processing this in the food processor. I actually ended up adding, I tasted it and I added a little bit more apple cider vinegar. I like mine a little bit tartar. I also added some dill to this because I thought that would have a nice little flavor that wasn't already in there. So again, very adaptable to whatever your tastes and preferences are. So this dressing, I'm going to go ahead and pour it in this bowl just so you can see how nice and liquidy it is. It can be thinned even more if you would like, but it would be great served over, lettuce, any kind of salad. You could use this over a grain bowl. You could serve this over chicken or fish, any kind of, really anything. Roasted vegetables would be great because you could have your roasted vegetables and then this would provide a great protein with additional nutrients and fiber. So really just a great overall dressing that can be used for a lot of different things. So I really want to thank you for joining me today as we talked about soy foods. I'm really learning myself to incorporate these more as I try to promote a more plant-forward diet as well. So again, the baked tofu was a very simple recipe that will give you the directions at the end of the video. Can be used for a lot of different things, so I hope you'll try it. And also the vegan ranch dressing made out of silken tofu. It's great to see you today. Take care. Bye-bye.